Today, I'll explain the basic settings in Valorant Mobile China. When you open the settings menu, the very first section you see is basic settings. The first option there is walk settings, which has 3 different modes: walk circle, walk, and standard walk. Here's what they mean. In a match, when you move normally, your footsteps are loud and enemies can hear you clearly. Enabling walk will let you move silently. Now, the difference between the 3 modes. 1. Walk. This creates a separate walk icon. When you tap it, silent walk is enabled and you can move the joystick in any direction. However, it turns off automatically if you fire or crouch. 2. Walk circle. The walk button is built into the joystick itself. To activate it, you need to carefully slide the joystick a little. This can feel tricky for beginners. 3. Standard walk. This adds a completely separate joystick just for walking silently. You can simply use it whenever you want to move without making noise. Next up is the scope mode. You have 3 options. Tap. Just tap the scope button to zoom in. Hold. Press and hold the button, and once you release, the scope turns off. Mixed. Allows you to use both tap and hold actions. Now for the crouch button settings. Tap. Tap once to crouch and tap again to stand. Hold the button to crouch, then release to stand. Mixed lets you use both tap and hold functions. And then comes the advanced settings, and trust me, some of these can completely change the way you play. First up, we've got aim assist. Super useful if you're just starting out or want that extra bit of help landing shots. Then there's the sniper rifle auto scope setting, which basically scopes in for you the second you fire. Pretty neat for quick snipes. Next is quick rope hold. Great for those zipline moments when you want smoother control. And then there's muzzle flash color. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what this one does, but hey, it's there if you want to experiment. Now here's something really cool, the smart weapons system. This automatically switches you back to your previous weapon or your strongest weapon right after you respawn. No more awkward weapon swapping when you come back into the fight. This saves time and keeps you ready. Moving on, we've got weapon inspection. If you enable it, you can tap the icon to manually inspect your gun. But here's the trick. If you swipe your melee or weapon icon left or right, it also inspects your weapon. Way faster, way smoother, and honestly, way more fun to show off those skins. Oh, and for all my left-handed players, there's even an option to flip everything to left-hand view. Super thoughtful addition. Finally, we get to the rotation perspective options. This decides whether your fire or scope button rotates when you tap or hold it. Now listen carefully, if you're a 4-finger player, I highly recommend turning this off because it can mess with your aim. But if you're playing with just 2 fingers, keeping it on might actually make things easier for you. So yeah, these advanced settings can seriously level up your gameplay if you know which ones to toggle. Alright, so here's something called Smart Fire Settings. This is basically where every single weapon type in Valorant Mobile gets its own custom firing option. For example, you'll see options for pistols, SMGs, rifles, machine guns, snipers, shotguns. Now what this means is, you can decide how each weapon fires. Do you want it to only shoot when you tap? Do you want it to auto-fire as soon as you scope in? Or maybe crouch and fire at the same time? You can literally choose per weapon. For instance, if you're using a sniper rifle, you can set it to fire the second you scope in. But for an SMG, you might want it to only fire when you tap, so you're not wasting ammo. Basically, every category has its own dropdown, and you can fine-tune it exactly the way you like. Now, when you actually click one of those weapon categories, like let's say rifles, you'll see a drop-down menu like this. Here, you can choose different firing modes. Close off, which means no smart fire, you control everything manually. Scope fire, your gun fires the moment you aim down sights. Crouch fire, automatically crouches and fires together when you shoot. Crouch plus scope fire combines both crouch and ADS at the same time. So yeah, every weapon category has this mini menu, and you can set it differently depending on what feels most comfortable for that weapon. Alright, so now let's check out the map settings in Valorant Mobile. First up is radar mode. This basically decides how your minimap looks. You can set it to local, where it only shows the nearby area, or global, where you can see the full map all the time. Next is view mode. You can make the map rotate with your character's view or keep it fixed so it always stays in the same direction. Then we have vision cone. If you turn this on, it shows a triangle on the minimap that tells you exactly where your character is looking. Now about the map expand method, this controls how you open the big map. You can either use a separate button or just tap directly on the minimap to expand it. There's also an option to show your current location name. If you turn this on, it will display whether you're at A site, mid, B site, stuff like that. And finally, for the big map settings, you can choose how location names appear. You can set it to not show at all, show only during the buy phase, or keep them visible all the time. Let's move on to the combat info settings in Valorant Mobile. These are all the little details that pop up during your matches. First, we have kill feed names. If you turn this on, it shows the names of players in the top kill feed whenever someone gets eliminated. Next is own ability broadcast. This shows when you've used one of your abilities so it's clear in the feed. Then there's skill tags. When enabled, your abilities will have little icons and markers, so you know exactly which skill you're using. The skill guideline option is super useful too. It shows a visual line on the screen whenever you're throwing things like smokes, grenades, or utility. Basically, it helps you aim your abilities better. You can also change the enemy outline color. This lets you choose the highlight color that shows around enemies to make them easier to spot. Now let's check the bomb mode or spike mode settings. There's an option for round economy summary, which shows you how much money you've earned after each round. You can turn on region reminders too. This will show the bomb sites or key areas clearly on the screen. There's also a bomb reminder option, so you won't forget about the spike being planted or needing to defuse it. Another setting is teammate head info. If you enable this, you'll see important details above your teammates' heads, like health or abilities. And finally, the voice indicator ring. When this is on, it shows a small mic circle whenever someone in your team is speaking, so you instantly know who's talking. Basically, these settings just control what kind of extra info appears in your HUD during fights, and in spike rounds, it makes sure you never miss important details like the economy, bomb timer, or teammate info. Now let's check out the other settings in Valorant Mobile. First, we have auto mark enemies. If you turn this on, whenever you shoot at enemies or spot them, they'll automatically get pinged on the map for your team. Next is double tap to ping. This lets you quickly ping a location just by double tapping the screen. If you don't like using a separate ping button, this setting is super useful. Then there's recommend comms after pings. When this is enabled, if you ping something like a site or an enemy, the game will recommend quick comms that fit the situation, like enemy spotted or let's rotate. You also have in-game comms. Turning this on allows you to use quick chat commands during the match, so you don't always have to rely on voice chat. There's also friendly emotes, which just allows you to use little emotes and gestures with your teammates during the game. And then you've got integrated comms. This is the quick comms wheel where you can customize what messages show up. For example, you can set things like walk, rotate, fallback, rush, or need healing. That way, in one tap, you can give your team clear calls without even talking. You can set up different comms for attack and defense sides, so the wheel is always optimized depending on the round. So basically, this tab is all about team communication, auto enemy marks, quick pings, suggested comms, emotes, and your custom ping wheel. It's the fastest way to give info without using voice. And that's everything you need to know about the basic settings in Valorant Mobile. If you enjoyed this, drop a like, share it with your friends, and support the channel. I've got more settings breakdowns coming really soon, so stay tuned. Appreciate you for watching.